Time Wizard Tuesday, guys. Today we are taking a look at my tournament report from this weekend. We had a small turnout for Edison because there were other events going on, but nonetheless, I brought Vayu Turbo. It's been a while since I played a Tier 1 or a deck that's even considered to be a real deck for that matter. And yeah, so I ended up going 3-1. Let's go into the deck list itself. It has 3 Vayu, 1 Gale, 3 Sirocco, 1 Elfin. That is the Blackwing package. 2 Armageddon Knight, 2 Dark Grepher, Card Trooper, Chaos Sorcerer, Gores, and Dark Armed Dragon. And then to finish out our monsters, we have 1 Hamster, 3 Rykos, Plague Spreader Zombie, and double Caius. Our spell and trap lineup: we are on Charge of the Light Brigade, Allure of Darkness, Burial from a Different Dimension, Lightning Vortex, and then Heavy MST, Brain, and Reinforcement of the Army. So, as you can see already with the Lightning Vortex in the main deck, this is Peyton Jane's deck from last week. The only difference is I got his actual deck list instead of what he told me was his deck list, and I changed a couple of the side deck choices to better fit my local meta. So for the trap lineup, though, we have Trap Dust Shoot, Mirror Force, Solemn Judgment, Torrential Tribute, Royal Oppression, Return for the Different Dimension, and then Bottomless Deprisons times 2. So I will say Return was absolutely amazing, especially with Elfin in the deck. I believe I won maybe 3 or 4 of my games from flipping Return and shutting out the opponent. So let's talk about the side and extra now. So for the side deck, we had double Deck Devastation Virus, double Dust Tornado, 2 Pulling the Rug, 2 Fossil Dyna, 2 Thunder King Ryo, 2 Cyber Dragon, 2 DD Crow, and 1 Soul Release for those matchups where you just need to banish way more monsters. And then for our extra deck, we had Armory Arm, Catastor, Bryonic, Goyo, Double Armed Wing, Double Armor Master, and then Black Rose to finish out our 7s. For our 8s, we had Dark End Dragon, Stardust Dragon, Colossal Fighter, Thought Ruler Archfiend, and of course Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon for the machines, but did not come up. And then, of course, the final level 8 there is the good old Silverwind Blackwing. So that is the entire deck list. We are going to now jump into the actual games themselves. So my first round, I was playing against Frog Plants. I do believe it was Frog Plants. At first, I thought he was playing Frog Hero. And then, I learned it was Frog Plants. So my opening hand was Ryko, Blackwing Sirocco, Return for the Different Dimension, Trap Dust Shoot, Mystical Space Typhoon, and Vayu, the Emblem of Honor. So this hand is pretty good. It's basically a Dark Grepher away from being absolutely insane. And I did open up with the Dust Shoot and the MST, which worked out in my favor. So, as you can see from the life points, I didn't take any damage at all. I opened up, Dust Shooted his hand. I don't remember what I sent back, but I know I let him keep Gores because I was like, I'm not really worried about this Gores. I can play around it with what I do have. And yeah, so I swung eventually with Vayu because I was like, if he drops Gores on Vayu, I think I had the Ryko set at that point. I was like, I'll just let him have an 800 token. We can kill the Gores and move on with our day. But yeah, the hand was crazy good, and yeah, I ended up winning in just a few turns, and we went on to game number 2. So for game number 2, I opened up with Bottomless Trap Hole, Gores, Emissary of Darkness, Plague Spreader Zombie, Soul Release, and Caius the Shadow Monarch. So this game was a little different. I ended up taking 100 damage because of what did he have set? Oh no, I remember. He did the Substitute play, and he went for. I just set Bottomless. He did the Substitute play, and he went for the Swap Frog to swing. And when he swung with the Substitute, I just dropped Gores on that, so he couldn't do the 1,000 damage. And yeah, I think I pretty much just took complete control from that point because I had Soul Release in hand, as you can see, and he did not play around it. So I was able to banish both of his Treeborns after he finished the combo. He did do a soft lock. I immediately just tributed Gores for Caius, banished Duke Frog, swung for 23 over the subs to Toad. And yeah, we just kept going. I ended up Solemning Caius, I believe, or maybe Solemning. Pretty sure it was a Caius. I think I Solemned a Caius and won the game from there. The only damage I took was the 100 from subs to Toad and the 100 from and the half from Solemn Judgment. I won this game by tributing for Sirocco for game, actually. I flipped Raikou, tribute Sirocco, swing for game, something like that with a Vayu on the field. All right, so now we're going to move on to round number 2. I played against Lightsworn. So for my opening hand, I had Burial from a Different Dimension, Solemn Judgment, Mirror Force, Caius, Bottomless Trap Holes. Pretty okay opening hand. You just need a few smaller monsters. But when I drew my 6th card for turn, he trapped Dust Shooted me, saw everything that I had, and was able to play around it. And I was like, oh God, this is not good. And I lost. So just like round 1, how I Dust Shooted and my opponent couldn't do anything, I got Dust Shooted and I could not do anything. He was able to play around all of my cards. His deck was very close to max rarity, and I thought, wow, this guy, he definitely knows what he's doing. It's fine. It's going to be a tough matchup. We'll make do. Let's go ahead and side deck and begin game 2. So for game 2, I did side in Fossil Dyna, as you could see there in my hand. Kind of a mistake, I think, but it ended up working out for me. So I opened up with Solemn Judgment, Vayu, Fossil Dyna, Bottomless Trap Hole, Return for the Different Dimension, and the Raikou. So for this game, it was intense, okay, to say the least. So much happened in this game. And yeah, it was very troublesome. I'm honestly not sure. I think he overextended in his play, and that's what cost him the win here. He ended up dropping a Christia, grabbing back the Little Fairy Lightsworn that gains 300 for everything, and swings into my Raikou. I use the Raikou, and I'm like, okay, I'm on 2,100 life points. That fairy thing is on 1,900. It's going to drop me to 200. I cannot brain control, and I am almost certain I had brain control in my hand at that point. But I was like, is it worth the brain control or not being able to special summon? I was like, I'm pretty sure I need the ability to special summon to win. And the Raikou, I popped the Christia, and off the top, you would not believe, I milled Elfin Vayu. Amazingly, just straight off the top. So I had in my graveyard Vayu, Elfin, and I'm like, I think this is fine now. So I'm on 200 life points. I summon, run over his guy, and he had already milled Christia because of the end phase. And then I set return, and I'm like, I think I win next turn if he doesn't have anything. And he had nothing. He had no hand, no nothing. He had overplayed his hand. And yeah, I think he outs the Lightsworn, the thing. And then I enter battle phase, I attack. And maybe he might have had the Mirror Force. I don't exactly remember. But I remember I flipped the return and it was just game. So, or maybe he had Necro Garden or something. He had something that could stop an attack, and I flip return. I'm like, here's 44. It's over 4,400 damage. I win. All right, so and then game 3. Game 3, the only damage I took was paying for Royal Oppression, and this game changed my opinion of this player, because game 1, I was like, okay, he perfectly played around everything, but for some reason in game 3, he did not. Let's just talk about my opening hand first, and then we'll talk about it. So my opening hand for game number 3, this was my first game 3 of the day, was Bottomless Trap Hole, Royal Oppression, Vayu, Chaos Sorcerer, and Card Trooper. Basically, I oppression Lumina, I believe is what happens, and he cannot recover. There's a point where I know I have Card Trooper on the table, and he summons his own Card Trooper. And like he tries to JD, and I roll oppressioned it. Like I'd already oppressioned twice, and he summons Trooper, and he didn't want to mill, I think, because he had the perfect amount for Christia in the discard. I don't know what happened. I just know he tried to special summon one. I mean, look at my life points. I went down to 2,400. He tried to special summon 4 times in one turn. At one point, he special summoned the Plague Spreader, and I let it go through because I was like, that's fine. I'll just oppression the Synchro. I don't care. He's already normal summoned. Who cares, right? And then, yeah, he goes into Catastor, and I'm like, oppression, okay? Or Android. Maybe went Android. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I oppressioned him 4 times. That's all of the damage I took. I don't know why he kept playing cards that I could oppression, honestly. It was very confusing. He took his hand down to nothing, just going through all the oppressions. Like I see, he played it on Dad, JD, everything. And I was very confused because the game 1, I thought he was doing great. And then game 3 is like it just fell apart. I don't know. Maybe he was so disheveled from losing with me on 200 life points in game 2. I don't know. And for round number 3, it was Vayu Turbo versus Dragon Turbo. So this is a very tough matchup because of Kawaki Miro Drago. However, let's talk about this opening hand, guys. I opened up Vayu, Armageddonite, Raikou, Sirocco, Heavy Storm, and Grepher, and I was going first. I did not set that Raikou. I immediately summoned the Grepher and started loading up the graveyard, okay? At that point, I did not know what he was on. I just really wanted to get that Grepher going and hopefully it stick and let me load up the grave. He draws, looks at his hand for a second, sets a monster, passes back. I use Grepher yet again to go into Elfin this time, to send Elfin into another Vayu to completely load up. I summon Armageddonite because he only had the 1-set monster. I'm like, unless he's got Gores or Battle Fader or something, I'm about to win this game. So I set I summon Armageddonite, send Plague Spreader, bring out Bryo, bounce his monster, and just go crazy. You know, I'm like, I'm going off. So we won that game with a big field, and just straight up dominated the game. So for the next game, at this point, I still wasn't entirely sure what his deck was, but I was like, you know, let's throw Fossil Dyna in here. I don't know. I was like, I didn't know. So I opened up with Fossil Dyna, Blackwing Gale, Blackwing Sirocco, and double Vayu. So that's not the greatest opening hand. As you can see in this one, he does do some damage to me. But yeah, it got to a point where I was able to play around a few things, summoning the Fossil Dyna in attack mode. He was forced to try and out it before he can do anything. By that point, I knew he was on the Dragons because he had played like Cards Consonants or whatever, and I knew he was on Dragons. So I just summoned the Dyna, and I'm like, he can't red med if I have the Dyna. And he does end up having an out. He summons the Baby Red Eyes and runs it over for 600 at some point there. And yeah, this game was a lot more back and forth, but it got to a point where I was like, I can manipulate my grave. I had drawn Dark Arm Dragon. I was like, if I do this and this, I can drop Dad and Gale for exactly 41, and he was on 4K, so I was like, unless he could just deal with it, I win the game. So I just did that, and I Gale swung. I was like, unless he has Tragodia, this is game. He tells me to wait. He's thinking, and I'm like, I don't know what he's thinking about. If he can't drop something on this Gale, I win. So I'm very confused what he was thinking about. And like a full minute and a half goes by, and then he finally drops Tragodia, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I pop it, main phase 2, and pass turn. Then I draw he draws, he sets like 2 back row and a monster. He still didn't really have anything. And he's, he's just trying to make me waste the Dark Arm Dragon. I draw for turn, I have Burial, and I'm just like, ooh, not good for you, bro. I didn't even need to use the Burial, though. I had enough engrave to pop everything, and then just swung directly with Dark Arm Dragon for the 2,700 to win the game. So this game was another pretty quick 2-0. Not as fast as game one, but it was pretty over quickly there. And then the final round, going into round 4, I was playing against Diva Hero on Bubble Man. So I knew this because I had watched his game earlier. He was playing a spy package with Descendant and Bubble Man in it. And yeah, my opening hand was Armageddon Knight, Caius, Bottomless Trap Hole, Torrential Return, Vayu. So I open up with summoning Armageddon Knight and sending, I believe, either Elfin or maybe Vayu. Maybe Elfin, though, because I had Vayu in hand. And just setting Bottomless. And I'm like, this should be okay. I didn't want to set the Torrential and lose both to Heavy Storm. So I'm like, okay. So he goes Future Fusion. I'm like, okay. He sends Malicious, summons Diva. Okay, he goes Stardust. I'm like, I got to Bottomless this Stardust. I have Armageddon Knight. I contribute it for Caius. It's fine, right? It's fine. Lo and behold, it was not fine. He brain controls, takes my Armageddon Knight, sinks it away, plays Miracle Fusion, and yeah, there's just nothing I could do. Nothing I could do. I had the Torrential, but his field was Stardust Dragon. After the end phase, his field was Stardust Dragon, Goyo, and what's his name? Absolute Zero. And yeah, that was all she wrote. I lost that game really quickly because of brain control. All right, and then we go to game number 2. I opened up Royal Oppression, Card Trooper, Heavy, Elfin, Sirocco, Vayu. And I'm like, this hand is pretty okay. I can make do with this. I set Vayu, set Oppression. Cool. He has Spy set. He sets pass. All right. So he sets 2 sets of monster passes. Not a T set. He set 2 back row. I flip Vayu because I have the Elfin. I'm like, if that's the Spy, I can Oppression it and get it out of my way. Force the flip summon with Elfin. So I flip Vayu, normal summon Elfin, flip the Spy, and wouldn't you know it, he has Dust Tornado. So I pay 800, lose out to Dust Tornado. He brings out another Spy, this one in defense position. I attack over the whatchamacallit guy, Greg Hero Spy. He summons Descendant. He's a Descendant to pop. We go one more turn. He has, I think, Stratos out there. I summon Sirocco, run over the Stratos. And then he brain controls and wins. Yeah, he beat me twice with brain control. Yeah, he went like brain control Diva yet again to win the game. So I lost turn 1 in the first game to Future Fusion, Diva, brain control, Miracle Fusion. And game 2, I lost about turn 3 or 4 to, again, just brain control, taking my monster. And I didn't have any back row to protect any attacks on that. And yeah, I think he Miracle Fusioned, brain controlled again, and it was just over. Yeah, the game was probably the fastest there was of the day. Those 2. My round 1 was pretty quick, but my round 4 was way faster. So I went from 3-0 to 3-1, losing to the Diva Hero Bubble Man and brain control. Oh my God, brain control. Edison Format. All right. Anyway, guys, that is the video for today. We played the Vayu Turbo. We wanted to test it. There's a larger tournament coming near the middle/end of the month. It's on the 21st. And I told Peyton I would use his deck because he's undefeated with it. He's 7-0 currently in tournament with the deck, and I wanted to see how well it would do for me. And I started off 3-0, and I was like, yo, this deck is technically 10-0 in tournament right now. And then I lost to my opponent, duking on my face with brain control. All right, so thanks for watching, everybody. Tune in tomorrow for What's Cooking Wednesday.